Hi, it's Mrs. Montgomery, and today you're going to get an equations review of one and two-step equations. So our learning target for today is by the end of this lesson, I'll be able to evaluate one and two-step equations. I will know mastery of the content when I can use inverse operations to solve one-step equations and use inverse operations to solve two-step equations. If you haven't already done so, go to your first tab in your binder and you should see the notes already in your binder. And we're going to fill them in as we go. If you have questions about anything that we're doing in the notes, please ask me when we're in class. But please take notes and follow along. So background information is, what does the word inverse mean to you? Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you that answer. Inverse means opposite. So what you're going to do is you're going to write opposite. So in this spot right here, you're going to write opposite. Inverse means the opposite. Okay. Now you have vocabulary words here because as you're solving equations, you're actually using properties. That's how you solve equations. An equation means that you're going to balance both sides on the equal sign. Whatever's on the left has to equal whatever's on the right. So your first vocabulary word is inverse operations. That's two operations that undo each other. So the opposite of subtraction is addition, and the opposite of multiplication is division. Then you have equivalent equations. Equivalent meaning equal. So basically equal equations. They're equations that have the same solution. So they have the same answer. Then you have addition property of equality. What that means is you're going to add the same number to both sides of the equal sign. So whatever you add on the left, you have to add on the right. So that's addition property of equality. Anytime you're adding something from on the left side and the right side. Subtraction property of equality means what? You're subtracting that number on the left and on the right. Multiplication property, you're multiplying a number on the left and on the right. And then division property of equality, you're dividing a number on the left and the right. So now we're going to go to our examples, our first examples. We're going to start with some one step and then we're going to go into some two step. This is a great review for you because you'll be doing quite a bit of equations while you're in geometry and or algebra 2. So we're going to start. Our first equation is x subtract 9 equals 15. So I'm going to write it right here, right next to it. Okay, so x subtract 9 equals 15. Your main purpose is to get this variable all by itself. To do that, that minus 9 has to go away. So since you're subtracting 9, we're going to do the inverse. We're going to add 9. If we add it over here to the left side of equal sign, we have to do the same thing on the right. Negative 9 plus 9 cancels out. It's really 0. It's called a zero pair. You bring down your x, bring down the equal sign, and then 15 plus 9 is 24. So x equals 24. If you ever want to check your answer, you don't necessarily have to write this in your notes, but it's great practice. But if you want to check your answer, you can use the calculator, or you're going to take that 24, subtract 9, because the 24 is x, equal to 15. 24 minus 9 is 15, and is equal to 15. This is why it's an equation, because it balances on the left and the right. You see the left side is 15, the right is 15. That's how you know your answer is correct, 24. All right, so that's number one. Let's move down to number two. Number two is y plus 15 equals negative 5. So y plus 13, I'm sorry, y plus 13 equals negative 5. So in this case, to get the y by itself, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to get rid of this plus 13. So we're going to do the opposite or the inverse. Since we're adding, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to subtract 13. Then since we're doing it on the left, we have to do it on the right. So the 13's cancel. Your left, you bring down your y. You bring down your equal sign. And negative 5 minus 13. If you don't know your integer rules, if they have the same sign, which they do, they're both negative, you add the two numbers together. So 5 plus 13 is 18. And then you give it that sign. So since they're both negative, the answer is negative. So y equals negative 18. Again, you can plug this in your calculator if you want, and you can type in negative 18 plus 13, and your answer will be negative 5. So far, so good. Okay. So number three, we got negative 12k equals negative 36. Now, a number next to a variable like this with no space in between, that means multiplication. You're multiplying a number times a variable. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by negative 12 over here. And if we divide by negative 12 on the left, we divide by negative 12 on the right. Make sure you bring that negative with you. That goes with it. It's like your fingers attached to your hand. It's attached to the negative 12, so it goes with the negative 12. Negative 12 divided by negative 12 is 1. So if you want to put 1k, bring down the equal sign. Negative 36 divided by negative 12. If you don't know your integer rules, a negative divided by a negative is always a positive. So 36 divided by 12 is 3. 1 times k is just k, and it's equal to 3. Okay, 1. Number 4, we got h divided by 3 equals 15. That is a fraction bar. Fraction bar really means divide. So since we are dividing here, so anytime you see a fraction, that means you're going to divide. So since you're dividing here, what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So we're going to multiply because we want this h to be by itself. We're going to multiply. We're going to get rid of this 3. So we're going to multiply by 3 on the left and 3 on the right. So the 3's cancel because 3 divided by 3 is 1. You bring down the h equals, and then 15 times 3 is 45. Number 5. Okay, number 5, we got x subtract 13 equals negative 2. We want this x to be by itself, so we're going to move this negative 13. So we're going to get rid of it. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to add 13 on the left and add 13 on the right. Bring down our x and bring down our equal sign. Negative 2 plus 13. Now here in your integer rules, if the two numbers have different signs, so you got one that's negative and one that's positive. If you have different signs, then you subtract the two numbers, the big number minus smallest number. So really, what's 13 minus 2? It's 11. Then you give it the sign of whichever number is larger. Well, I always ask, which number is bigger, a 13 or a 2? Well, 13 is bigger. The sign in front of the 13 is positive, so that means that this is positive. When you write your final answer, you don't say plus 11, you just say x equals 11. Okay. Think of it too like a number line. You start at negative 2 and you're adding 13, so that means you're going to the right. That's going to mean you're going to go into the positive numbers on the number line, and it'll end at 11. Right.